Welcome back to my channel. This is Chapter 3, A Grimm Reminder. If you have not seen the first 2 episodes, check them out before watching this one because this one starts right where the last one ended off. Anyway, let's get into it. My name is Justin, and this is our story. A couple of months passed. It had been a few months since we found this place. We were just getting ready to go back to the north. We wanted to let them know that we found this place so they can come down here. We figured they can grow more crops, hunt more animals, live a better life than the one they were living up north. We all met up at the usual spot. There was me, of course, Joanne, Richard, Jen, and Simon. So we were making up our minds about going back to the north. "I don't know, guys," Jen says. "I really don't want to go back there. I mean, we barely made it out alive. What if something happens and we don't make it? I mean, I would never forgive myself." "Well, Jen, you have a point there, but we do have to let them know about this place. I mean, they're struggling up there. Half the people are sick with the flu. Even if we leave them supplies, they won't be able to take care of everyone. But if we let them know about this place, then maybe we can all pull through together." I agree with Justin, but I don't want to leave. I mean, I finally found a place where I feel safe and I think I'm gonna stay here. "What are you talking about, Jen? Why would you stay here? You should come with us." "Because I'm needed here. I'm a doctor and they need me here. Plus, I have all these medicines that I need to keep track of. I can't just leave all this and leave them to fend for themselves. I'm sorry, guys, I just can't leave." "All right, Jen, well, you stay here and take care of things." So we said our goodbyes to Jen and we headed out. We took some supplies with us just in case we didn't find anything when we got to the north. We made it about 2 days into the woods when we started seeing some weird things. First, it was the animals. We saw some dogs with no fur, just skin and bones. Then we saw some deer with extra legs and some birds with extra eyes. And we thought maybe we were just exhausted and hallucinating things. But then we saw a family of raccoons that had no heads. Their bodies were just laying there and their heads were like 20 feet away from them. We also saw some squirrels that were just huge, like the size of a bear. And then we saw a dead horse that was just covered in flies, and its eyes were open and staring blankly into space. And as we walked past it, it just lunged at us. We all screamed and ran as fast as we could, but it kept coming and coming. And finally, we turned around and shot it. As it fell to the ground, it just stared at us for a while. Then it just exploded into a million pieces. We stood there in shock as blood and guts covered us. And then we started screaming and running as fast as we could. When we finally stopped to catch our breath, we looked back to see if it was following us, and to our surprise, it wasn't. So we kept running until we came across a lake. We drank some water from it and then sat down on the bank to rest. That's when we heard some footsteps behind us. We all screamed and ran into the lake. We looked back to see a boy standing on the bank staring at us. He was tall and skinny with long greasy hair and dirty clothes. He looked at us for a moment, then he started to walk away. We watched him for a while, then we started to walk back to the road. As we were walking, we saw some people in the distance. We waved at them, and they waved back. We started to walk faster, and as we got closer, we could see that they were carrying guns. We all started to run, and they started to run after us. We could hear them yelling, "Stop, stop, stop, don't move!" But we couldn't understand what they were saying. We ran as fast as we could until we could run no more. We hid behind a log, and they passed us by. We waited for a while and then we started to walk again. But we couldn't shake the feeling that we were being watched, so we decided to head in the direction of the noise. As we got closer, we could hear drums and chanting. We could also see a fire in the distance. We started to run towards the fire, and as we got closer, we could see more people. They were all sitting around the fire in a circle and they were chanting and drumming. One of them stood up and started to walk towards us. We all screamed and started to run. But as we ran, we could feel something in the air. It was like a force field or something. It was pushing us back. There were hundreds of them. They were tall and thin with long, sharp teeth and claws. Their eyes were glowing red and they were growling. We screamed and started to run. But as we ran, we could feel ourselves getting weaker. They were draining our strength. We ran as fast as we could until we collapsed. We woke up the next morning and realized that they had taken us to a clearing. They had tied us up and were standing around us in a circle. They started to chant and drum again, and one of them started to walk towards us. He had a knife in his hand and he started to cut the ropes that were tying us up. We all backed away from him, but he kept coming closer. Finally, he was close enough and he lunged at us. We all ran. We could feel ourselves getting weaker. They were draining our strength. We ran as fast as we could until we collapsed, and that's when we saw it. It was a city. We didn't know if it was abandoned or not, but we had to try. We got inside and started to look around. We found food and water and we were able to take care of our wounds. We stayed there for a while until we heard some noises outside. We looked out a window and saw the same group of people from earlier. They were looking around and they seemed to be looking for something. We stayed inside for a few days until we were sure they were gone. Then we went back outside and started to explore the city. We found some bikes and we were able to fix them up. We used the bikes to travel around the city and we found a lot of supplies. We also found some people who were still alive. They were hiding in a warehouse and they were trying to stay out of sight. We joined them and they told us about what was happening in the city. They said that there was a group of people who were turning everyone into zombies. They said that the zombies were attracted to noise and light, so they were trying to stay quiet and in the dark. They also said that they had tried to escape the city, but they couldn't. The zombies were too strong and too fast. We decided to stay with the people in the warehouse and we helped them to build barricades and traps. One day, one of the people in the warehouse said that he had a plan to escape the city. He said that we could use the bikes to ride around the outside of the city and distract the zombies. Then we could sneak out in the middle of the night and head north. Everyone agreed and we started to put the plan into action. The next night, we all got on our bikes and started to ride around the city. We made lots of noise and the zombies came out of their hiding places and started to chase us. We kept riding until we were out of the city limits and then we stopped. We looked back and saw that the zombies were getting closer and closer. We had to hurry up. We all got off our bikes and started to run. We could hear the zombies behind us and we could feel their hot breath on our necks. We ran as fast as we could until we reached the woods. We hid in the trees and the zombies ran past us. We waited until we heard them moving away and then we started to run again. We ran for hours until we came across a river. We had to cross it to get to the other side. We waded into the water and started to swim. We could feel the current pulling us under, and we could hear the zombies behind us. We collapsed on the ground and looked back to see that the zombies weren't following us. We had made it. We traveled for a few days until we reached the North Colony. When we arrived, we were shocked to see that it was deserted. There were buildings on fire and people were lying on the ground. Some of them were zombies and some of them were still alive. We asked them what happened, and they told us that a group of people had come to the colony and killed everyone. They had turned half of the people into zombies and the other half had barricaded themselves in the warehouse and the church. They said that the zombies were too strong and there was nothing they could do to stop them. They said that they were just waiting for us to come back so we could help them. We knew that we had to do something, so we started to help them barricade the doors and windows. We also set up traps outside so that we could defend ourselves if the zombies tried to break in. We stayed with the people in the warehouse and the church for a few days, until we knew that we had to leave. The people in the warehouse had given us food and supplies and they had told us that we had to go. They said that they didn't want us to get infected. So we said goodbye and headed north. As we were walking, we could hear the sound of screams and gunshots. We didn't want to stick around to find out what was happening, so we kept walking. We had been walking for hours when we came across a small cabin. We decided to stay there for the night, so we started a fire and made some dinner. We sat around the fire and talked about what we were going to do next. We knew that we couldn't stay in one place for too long, so we decided to keep moving north. The next morning, we packed up our stuff and started to walk. We had been walking for a few hours when we saw a plume of smoke in the distance. We decided to investigate. As we got closer, we could see that it was coming from a small village. We didn't know if anyone was still alive there, but we had to check. We entered the village and started to search for survivors. We found a few people hiding in a building, but they had already been infected. They attacked us and we had to kill them. We continued to search the village and found nothing but infected people. We were about to give up hope when we saw a light in the distance. We ran towards it and found a group of people. They were alive and they were willing to help us. They took us to their camp and gave us food and supplies. They told us that they had been fighting the infected for weeks and they were losing hope. They said that they didn't know how much longer they could keep it up. We knew that we had to do something, so we decided to help them fight the infected. We spent the next few days helping and setting up defenses. The infected kept attacking the camp, but we were able to defend it. However, we knew that it was only a matter of time before they broke through. One night, the zombies attacked. We fought back, but they were too strong. They broke through our defenses and started to infect our people. We tried to evacuate, but it was too late. The zombies had surrounded us. We knew that we were doomed. Then suddenly Simon stepped forward. He told us to get on our bikes and ride to the east. He said that he would hold off the zombies as long as he could. We didn't want to leave him, but we knew that he was right. We got on our bikes and rode as fast as we could. We could hear the zombies behind us, and we could feel their hot breath on our necks. We didn't dare look back. We just kept riding. Hours later, we stopped to rest. We looked back to see if the zombies were following us. To our surprise, they weren't. We kept riding until we found a place to hide. We buried our bikes and made a shelter out of some rocks and branches. We stayed there for a few days until we were sure that the zombies weren't following us. Then we started to walk north. We hadn't seen anyone since we left the camp, but we knew that we weren't alone. We could feel eyes on us, and we could hear footsteps behind us. We were being stalked. We walked for days until we finally decided to turn around and face our pursuers. We found Simon lying on the ground. He had been torn apart and his body was covered in bites. We were shocked and horrified, but we knew that we had to keep moving. We couldn't stay there. But before we left, we dug up a grave and said our goodbyes. We were all traumatized by what we had seen. We didn't speak for days. We didn't want to talk about what had happened. We were just glad to be alive. Eventually, we came across another group of survivors. They welcomed us and offered us food and supplies. We told them about the infected, and they listened in disbelief. They didn't believe us, they thought we were crazy. We left the group and continued to walk north. We didn't speak for the rest of the journey. We didn't want to talk about what had happened. We were just glad to be alive. The end. Anyway, that's all I have for you today. Thank you all so much for watching and listening. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you all next time. If you like this series, please share and subscribe.